I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my creative healing course is filled with hours of exclusive content. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Margaret.
And today we're going to be talking about if I leave my ex alone, will they miss me? So Margaret, this is a topic that comes up for me probably on a daily basis.
Me too.
Or almost a daily basis.
Right. Several times a week at least.
But I understand why it's such a big topic.
Sure.
And so we're going to talk about this today because it's so terrifying. It's so terrifying to go through a breakup and just feel like your ex isn't going to miss you. And we're going to talk about why and what your ex is going through and some of the things they might be thinking or feeling as well, as long as, and yourself, because I found it to be so helpful to understand what's going on within ourselves during a breakup.
Absolutely.
Right? So, you know, people say to me all the time, if I don't reach out, do you think they're going to think about me? Do you think they're going to miss me? And, you know, obviously we're dealing with, you know, emotions, and we're dealing with a connection, we're dealing with love, we're dealing with attachment, you know, and I don't think there's anything more powerful than attachment.
There isn't.
And it's hardwired into us. That's the way we are meant as human beings, is to form a bond, even with our mother at, a couple months old?
Pre-birth.
Yeah.
Pre-birth.
But it really gets to that, 3-month mark where
3
we
months.
really start to bond and have a powerful attachment with them. And that isn't something that you have to talk about or think about. It's just...
It just happens. It's natural. It's normal.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, I understand that it's so scary to think about your ex not thinking about you and letting them go and not reaching out to them, that we constantly feel like we have to do something to repair that connection, okay? And
Not only that, we get hormones that tell us that.
That's right.
To even add insult to injury.
Mm-hmm.
Mother Nature always wants us to propagate. And when a relationship ends, Mother Nature says, uh-oh, no kids from these two, and sends you more hormones to go get them back.
Yeah. So, you know, obviously one of the things that is incredibly challenging is the obsessive thoughts, right? We're dealing with the obsessive thoughts almost nonstop, and it feels like this, almost like you're trapped in this endless cycle of obsessive thoughts.
Obsessive thoughts.
And it's just, you just can't turn them off. And there's a biological reason behind that. And that is, if you're a child, like look at if you're a child and you're disconnected from your parents, you wander off too far, your brain has you go back to them because you could die. You could literally die.
There's a picture of them in case you missed it.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's what's going on there. It's a very similar thing that you experience as a child. Wander too far away from your parents, you're gonna die. And so that's why you're going through those obsessive thoughts. And I'm going to talk about how this affects your ex as well in a minute. But I want you to understand, because, you know, I remember when I first started researching breakups years ago, I stumbled across a video that talked about death and how we feel like we're dying.
Absolutely.
And that's why we have these obsessive thoughts. And then it really hit me like, no wonder why this is so painful. I feel like I'm dying because your brain is telling you, don't disconnect from that person because you could die.
And let's go back to our old friend, that saber-toothed tiger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And remember that in our evolutionary old days, if we got separated from mom, we did probably become somebody's lunch.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So it's not crazy. It's in a way adaptive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's very intertwined with our survival.
Yep.
And so that's why so many of you guys are driving past your ex's house, you are calling their job, you're driving past their job, you're calling their friends, their family, you're stalking their social media. You need to be honest with yourself on that you're doing it, because so many of you guys are not going to admit it, but yeah, you really are doing or have done it. And it's because you're desperately feeling like if you don't do it, you're going to die without them.
But there's a cognitive piece to it too. This is somebody you've been with, for some period of time, for enough for it to class as a breakup.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that person has said loving things to you. And you have said loving things to them. And then all of a sudden they walk away from you. And it makes no logical sense.
Sure.
Right? Emotions don't always make logical sense.
No.
But there is some logical sense here. How could the person who, 2 months ago told me I was the best thing in the entire universe walk away from me?
Even 2 days ago.
Even 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I have an email coaching that we'll get to in another video if we have some time today about something that happened to somebody just like that. But, Margaret, we're in this obsessive thinking of, are they going to come back? Are they going to miss me? Are they going to think about me? Margaret, what do you think?
Well, I think they are going to miss you, and they are going to think about you.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be with someone on an intimate level and not have some level of attachment.
Yes.
Okay? So yes, they are going to think about you. Yes, in the beginning they're going to feel relieved because they've finally done the breakup, but they're going to miss you, they're going to think about you, and they're going to wonder if they made the right decision.
That's right. But it takes time,
Right.
Okay? We know that you're experiencing so much physical pain that it's unbearable. I've been there.
Yeah.
That's what propelled me to want to learn this stuff so well, is what I went through with my own breakups in the past. And, that's why I can relate with you guys, because I know how horrible it is. And Margaret was there for me during that time.
Yes.
And, it's so scary to think, is this person thinking about me? If I leave them alone, if I stop reaching out, if I go no contact, is that it? Are we done? Are they just going to be out of sight, out of mind?
Right. Back in the old days, we had love letters to save.
Mm-hmm.
But now it all takes place electronically, and you can't even, they used to joke about people having an old trunk full of love letters.
Yeah.
We don't even have those anymore, so you can't hold on to them.
Yeah, unless you have like text messages now. Or
And the other thing you might have is pictures.
Yep.
And I really think that when you're dealing with any loss, it's useful to look at a picture of that person. Now, it might sound like it's going to pour salt in the wound, but I guarantee, no. You look at the person's picture and you say, I'm sad about all of this.
Yeah.
And that's a very healthy way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, because you have to kind of own it.
You do.
And, that brings up for me, I'm thinking calling up the object. That so many of the people that we're dealing with have had attachment issues, and they can't picture somebody,
Yep.
that, you know what I mean? Like,
And just let me repeat that theory in a couple of sentences.
yeah, let's talk about that.
If things work correctly, and our mother is available and we attach, and all those wonderful things happen, eventually we begin to develop a picture of mom that we can hold in our memory, in our head, when mom is not there.
Calling up their voice, calling up
What
them
their
talking
face
to
looks
us.
like,
Yeah.
and so forth. And if you can call up the object, life is so much easier, because you can call it up to soothe yourself,
Yeah.
or you can call it up if you have to grieve.
Yeah.
Okay? And I remember essentially being taught by a client when I suggested that he needed to grieve some of the people in his family. He said, I'll have to bring in the family album. Only then did it dawn on me that it was easier for him to do it when he could see the pictures, because he couldn't really call up the object.
Yeah.
So it was a wonderful thing. I did family albums ever after.
Yeah.
I thank him if he's out there somewhere.
Yeah, so what happens is, that inability or that struggle to call somebody up makes us feel like they're going to forget us. Because in a way, we're forgetting them. We're forgetting the sound of their voice. We're forgetting how they talked to us, what they were saying to us, what they told us. And so we are afraid that they're doing the same thing that we're struggling with.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
It's almost like projecting.
Yeah. And is it easier to put somebody out of your mind? Yeah, you can try. Good luck, because those obsessive thoughts will come right back.
Sure.
You miss me, I know you do, I know you miss me. One of the other things I hear often is, does this mean they never loved me? No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't at all. And I think that most people break up for whatever reasons they break up, but that at one time when you were together, they said they loved you and they meant it.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay?
Yes.
People often think there are reasons they have to break up. Sometimes they don't even want to.
Yep. But, what happens next is that, your ex has made a decision to end the relationship, to move forward, and at that point, they really are fairly confident with their decision. They're not always 100%, and every situation is very different. Let me put it out there. There are situations that are so different throughout my day that, we're trying to talk in general terms to get you to understand that, yes, in most of the cases, they are going to think about you and miss you right off the bat, but there will be situations that your ex is so frustrated or maybe fed up with you, or the situation that they're at that point, they're like, I don't want to deal with it, I don't want to think about it. But they can't turn it off forever.
No, they can't. They can delay it, but they can't turn it off forever. And how many times do we hear that they sign up on 6 dating sites, 2 days later, to distract themselves?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And, what we start doing at that point is we're looking at our behavior and we start to beat ourselves up of, oh my gosh, I couldn't leave them alone. I was pushing. I was shoving them to talk to me, to work it out. And we start to feel really bad about that because we realize that we've been demanding, and then our ex just gets cold, ice cold.
Yes.
And so when they're at this point, they're not going to act like they're ever going to miss you. They're not going to budge because they don't want you to continue harassing them. So they got to put that wall up. Right? So that's why I'm trying to get you to see is that the process of leading up to this point is they're not going to act like they're missing you or thinking about you, because if they do, you're just going to pursue them like an awful salesman, right? Right? Like you just are acting like a persistent salesman that won't let the person think about things, right? So at this point, you got to go no contact. And some of you get there sooner than others. I get that. And, when you go no contact, it's actually a really powerful thing to do.
Yes, it is.
Because your ex, at that point, is just like, oh, they're constantly badgering me, reaching out. And so there's no fear there. There's no, sense of like, am I making a mistake? Am I going to miss this person? Because they're not missing you at that point.
No, at the moment they're relieved.
Yeah. And they're like, finally, they're leaving me alone, right?
Finally, I have space. We all need space. That's what we hear a great deal. I need space.
That's right.
Finally, I have my space. Well, you think all you want in your space.
Yeah. But once you stop forward momentum, that is a complete change of dynamics. You're no longer trying to be a used car salesman. You're no longer trying to force them into something they're not wanting to do. Now they actually have to sit with a decision of, am I really going to want to live without this person? Right. At first they think you're still going to reach out, maybe in a couple of days or a week, but as time goes on, they don't stop thinking about you.
No, they don't.
The way they think about you and the situation changes. They go from feeling angry and frustrated and walls up and defensive to, maybe I am making a mistake. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe the things that were bothering me then weren't so bad. But it takes time to get there.
And that's the thing. I had somebody say to me today, it's been 4 weeks. I mean, we're talking, several months oftentimes.
Exactly. That's typical, depending upon the situation, why they wanted to end things. But, once you have stopped the forward momentum, that creates space. And the more time that goes on, the more space that is created the more they are going to wonder or start to believe, well, I actually am never going to hear from this person again. And in that space, that's when they start to feel like they've been dumped, in a sense.
Right.
Now, sometimes you'll have people that will do breadcrumbs, and every once in a while they'll reach out. And, we don't want you to chase them.
No.
We don't want you to be eager with these people. But, like I said, this is so general. Oftentimes we're in situations where we don't hear from our ex for months at a time.
Right.
And we don't want you to ignore them. If your ex is breadcrumbing you and reaching out to you occasionally, saying, sometimes you'll have an avoidant that's reaching out, every couple of days. At that point, you don't want to, act like you're available or too interested in them. We want you to be a challenge, right?
Right.
We don't want anybody to think that you're easily available, but we don't want you to ignore them either.
Right.
So if you are in a breadcrumbing situation, you're going to do it differently, obviously, than a situation where you haven't heard from your
beware the
ex.
3 o'clock in the morning or the drunk call.
Yeah.
Don't put up with that.
Exactly. But I don't want people to get confused, because there's a big difference with a breakup when somebody hasn't reached out to you in 4 months and ignoring them, versus you haven't heard from your ex in 2 days and they're reaching out every 3 days and they're breadcrumbing you. That's a very different kind of breakup.
Yep.
Okay? But more often than not, the breakup is you haven't heard from your ex for 3 or 4 months.
And the normal response, the normal human response to loss is grief. Okay? And you can put grief off, but you cannot make it go away.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out that people don't last a year without getting into that grief stage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So grief is going to come upon them, and they're going to remember you, and they're going to be sad. They can delay it for a while, and then eventually it's going to catch up with them.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It does catch up with them.
Right.
And if they try going from relationship to relationship, it's just going to be unhealthy, and the losses are just going to mount, and they're just going to continue the cycle of unhealthy relationships.
And trying not to grieve.
Yeah. Which is why we are always pushing and advocating for mental health and growing and working through your issues. It's so critical to turning it around once your ex does reach out again. Mm-hmm. But, there are so many different types of situations. That's why I say in the video, every relationship is different, every breakup is different. Because throughout all day long, there are very different scenarios that play out on why people break up, how they broke up, what happened, why it happened, right? Attachment styles, mental health issues, all of those things come up.
It's a whole package. We're all a whole package. But I've often heard, I've watched him put things out of his head. He can put things out of his head and never think about them again.
Mm-hmm.
No, he can't. He lives on the planet with our shared humanity. Eventually it's going to catch up with him. He does have feelings, or you wouldn't have been with him.
Yes. So in time, your ex does miss you. And they think about those good things. They think about those good times you had together. They think about the pros of the relationship. They think about the cons to the relationship.
Right.
And your goal is to work on those things that when they come back, you're not doing those mistakes. You're trying to minimize those mistakes. So they are more willing to try and give it another go.
Yep.
Right? That the things that they were so frustrated with won't be there as intense as they were before. That if you can try to minimize those problems,
Right.
then things will be easier for them. They'll be happier, but it takes real work to get to that place.
It does.
Right? But, leaving them alone is absolutely critical to getting them to miss you.
Otherwise, it's like a fix for an addict. Okay? If they can call you, get a quick response, or if you call them, then they stop grieving. You don't want to interrupt the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You want them to miss you. You want them to think about you. You want them to remember all those good times. And people will talk about the fading effect bias. Have you heard about that?
No, what is the fading effect?
You know,
I might have it. Is it like COVID?
it might be. I haven't found a lot of good research on it. That's why we haven't talked about it too much in videos. Where supposedly, in time, you start to forget about the bad things and remember the good. But the research I've seen isn't, that significant yet.
That happens in domestic violence cases, oftentimes. I'd have to research that, which I will do if it's a topic of interest.
Yeah. But somebody had commented on the video today about the fading effect bias, so I thought I'd bring it up real quick.
Meaning that you remember the good times instead of the bad ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that probably is somewhat true.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some truth to it, but the research is more about, from what I saw, was about specific amount of days and stuff like that. But what I had seen when I had researched it years ago, I wasn't thoroughly impressed. Right. So maybe that's something you could look into in your research and your studies. But I want everybody to know, it's so important that even though your ex is just steadfast in their decision of, I'm never going to give you another chance, I'm never going to get you work it out with you, that changes over time. Okay, it doesn't mean they're necessarily coming back.
That. They will tell me the last hurtful thing that the ex says.
Yes.
In which case I immediately quote you and say, Craig reminds us all that feelings change.
Feelings change. But it takes time for those feelings to change. And you've got to be willing and you got to be strong to leave them alone, to allow that, for them to actually miss you. Think about it. If you miss somebody, time has had to occur and space has had to occur. You don't miss somebody when they're in front of you, right? I don't miss Margaret when she's here right next to me.
But you miss me all week when I'm not here.
Exactly, if we're not seeing each other or filming videos or whatnot. Right? Or my friends that I don't get to see.
Right.
You miss them when you have space and time away. And so, yes, they will miss you. Even though they looked upset and angry and hurt and they had their wall up and they looked like they were never going to change their mind, that happened, that they can change over time.
Right.
And we know that you guys need to hear this all the time because it's so scary what you're going through. And that's why we're always bringing it up and sharing different experiences that we've had. When we get email success stories, which we get all the time, and we can't share them all, quite honestly.
No, you can't.
But if you give your time to your ex, if you give them space, they will miss you, they will think about you. They can't shut off that part of their brain.
Not for any length of time they can't. They can do it briefly.
Yeah.
But it will eventually come back and say, hi, I'm still here, like all unresolved issues do.
Yeah.
Okay?
And when people tell you they love you, I think on some level they love you forever.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So
I think that's true. And remember what's going to happen too, the minute you're ready to move on.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, we see that all the time. In fact, I had a comment today, I think it was on my Instagram, from somebody who said, the minute I was ready to move on, they came back. They sensed the disturbance in the force.
That's right. And don't forget that. We think they're not in touch, they're gone, they've absolutely blocked us out, and then as soon as we're ready to move on, they reach out.
Yeah.
Which says that the process has gone on for those several months. And remember, we live in a world of instant. And we've lost our sense of process. Oftentimes we fall in love too fast. And Craig and I are always saying, slow down. Mm-hmm. Don't move too fast. And we fall into love too fast, and sometimes we fall out of love real slowly. Mm-hmm. Slow is better on both ends.
Yeah. So, yes, if you leave your ex alone and give them time, they will miss you. They will start to remember the good times, the experiences you shared, those moments you had, the connection you had, and you just have to let them do that on their terms, which is so difficult, we know, but they're not going to forget you in that time. They're just not. Right?
Right.
Okay. Hopefully you found this helpful.
I hope so too.
Of course, if you want to get our help personally, just go to my website, askcraig.net, sign up for the coaching option that works best for you. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Margaret, of course, is available for Skype coaching.
If you feel that I can be helpful, please sign up with me.
Just click on Margaret on the top of the website to do that. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Margaret.
And we will talk with you soon.